June 16, 1976. A nasty, tragic day for hundreds of young people.
The role of the 1976 youth still stands as a shining example.
The 76 class took to the streets to change the socio-political landscape in the country. And 41 years later, new social issues have come to the fore. This includes drug dependency, pregnancy, unemployment, and access to tertiary education.
They aim to shut down the entire campus.
Others were more violent.
As much as the court interdict is there, but we want free education because we were promised free education in 1994.
They're saying we're here to engage with our vice chancellors. We're here to engage with even the political formations that are here. Forward with the Step-Lock students, forward! Forward with the Step-Lock workers, forward!
The call is genuine and the students must continue with the fight.
We did not ban schools. We protected our schools because education is your future.
Both these men hope that the youth of today understand and appreciate the sacrifices of the youth back then in 1976.
It was back in 1992 when the late Chris Hani once said, and I do quote, that what I fear is that the liberators will, of course, emerge as elitists who drive around in Mercedes-Benz and use the resources of this country to live in palaces and gather their riches.
Kamala Kini Shandu simukele kwe Daily Thetha namhlanje sibuka kakhulukazi youth of 1976 ukuthi accountable na for youth ka 2017 because buka izinto ebezenzakala youth of 1976 yayimgwaqeni yolele abantu education but le yango 2017 or 2016 ikwazile ukuthi iye kwi fees must fall but le yango 1976 asibange sababona bala nobani na. Do you think ukuthi kukhona umehluko abawenzayo nkathi belela ukuthi abe youth namhlanje iphile kangconywana or awubona umehluko yona into esikhuluma namhlanje ku Daily Thetha?
Okay, Nitio, I think it's very important to engage the youth of 1976. Liba more, liba 2016 and 2017 by engaging the fees must fall. All the promises, all the fights that happened, of course, Hector Peterson, unfortunately, they have passed on during those times of the Soweto youth uprising. If Inche Alorona, Hector Peterson, would he be proud to be black, to be in South Africa, and to be free?
Mawubheka kahle youth into eyilwela kakhulu nge-fees must fall bekhala ukuthi abazali aba-afford but bona abazali asibabona nanga omalume asibabonanga sibone ngathi ilwa yodwa and ubheka indlela eyayisetshenziswa as well sabona ama-tear gas sabona abanye bedrag emgwaqeni kwababuhlungu kwabanjeyana funa ukwazi ukuthi ngokubona kwakho iyouth endala iyakwazi into ibambisana neyouth yanamhlanje and isize ukuthi iphile impilo engconana. Give us a call on 011-339-1315 or find us on Facebook daily_Thetha SABC1 also on Twitter @daily_Thetha sine WhatsApp number as well uzoyibona sescreenini sakho nje siza ukuthi umbono wakho uthini usendele those voice notes as well sikwazi ukukhuluma. Yeah,
the number of course is 0606796835. Molungu send the voice notes chakago comment and send your videos. This is a conversation you need to be a part of. Our studio audience members Barjona Nokhunile. Welcome. My sister, and Rebuto, what you think about Merkwa, the youth of 1976. Are you satisfied as youth here?
I would say I'm satisfied of the youth of 1976 than we are today and the youth of 2017. Because youth of 1976 fought for us the way we are today. And it never been spoon-fed. They fought what they wanted. They knew what they wanted. And then we are free today because of them. But today, what are we fighting for? Fees must fall while we are sitting at the corner, not wanting education. And then we're looking for jobs. Whilst you don't have qualification to get those. But we see
the graduates. We see qualified graduates. They're saying they're qualified. We saw it last year. Young people. We saw even in the footage. Are you saying the youth of today has done nothing whatsoever?
In my eyes, I say they did nothing. today.
All right.
Okay, and Sakuluma about that as well. I'm sure we do have youth of Pendela about local, even at home as well. Do you think good youth laying on 1976 a lawyer? Yalwela uguti laba bakona bapilegangon. Bapilegangon, ukona no metro so kona. I want to tell the microphone Nezana German. German was a going to do you think good youth lay in Dala? Ikona ni ubambisana na youth yanam saj?
There is absolutely no ukubambisana, my brother. The truth and the fact of the matter is that there is a huge divide between the generation of today and the past generations. And there are actually no dialogues, intergenerational dialogues, to actually talk and discuss issues. Hence, my sister, when she started, she mentioned that we never saw our parents during the Fees Must Fall protests, contrary to what happened in 76. Because in 76, you had parents, you had teachers, you had the whole community and community activists participating in those marches. So indeed, there is a huge divide, and to a great extent, I say that the elders have betrayed the youth.
It's 41 years after what happened in 1976. And more there was a need of protests about Fees Must Fall, because now you're no longer fighting the apartheid government, but you're fighting your fathers and people who were there were fighting back then. Do you think there was a need to something like that happened with Fees Must Fall?
Frantz Fanon said that each generation must, out of relative obscurity, discover its own mission, fulfill it, or betray it. And so, indeed, the generation of today, the 2017 generation, found their own mission. They discovered their own mission and chose not to betray it. And they were betrayed by the generation of the elders, the people who are now in power, the elite, the oligarchs, who have actually partnered with the very same people who are oppressing us and have conspired against not only the youth, but the black community as a whole.
And find out your comment. I mean, we're having a conversation between the youth. Elungore was 18, was 15 back in 1976. That's like 41 years ago. They're in their late 50s. They are men and women by Elungore. Some are in positions of power, of influence. Some are just our fathers and uncles. Do you feel they need to be accountable and take some form of responsibility for not right now, since they're in positions of influence, not fulfilling what they were fighting for back then?
I mean, of course, because from where we are standing, I mean, the struggles in apartheid were not just for civil rights. And that's what we have today. It was not about liberation. What we see now is that it was not about liberation. We are about liberation. And I think it's completely disingenuous to have the youth of today to be accountable for the failures of the youth of the past, because we were not born to be activists. We were not born to fight the system. We were born to live, and we can't live because we are suffocated on a daily basis. And now we can't even engage with our parents because now they're in position of power and they don't relate to us and our struggles anymore. So they have to account, all of them one by one, even for many things, for misogyny, for the racism, for the capitalist system that continues even today. And they say nothing. We must celebrate RDP houses. No.
All right, we'll have that conversation. We're going to have that conversation.
As well, we want to find out on social media. I see Mr. Antlak Music. This youth of today is ruined by the stigma of this world, democracy and freedom. These kids only think about joy, not struggle. I don't know what you think about at home. Give us a call. Let's find out from you. Go to Tini. Say abuya after this.
As a young person, esikhathini samanje mangibheka iyouth yango 1976 into engenzele yona mina ukuthi bakwazile ukuthi bafight education system ebafunda under yona. Mina ngathola education system much better.
The youth of 1976 ingenzele okuningi, because now I can go ezikolweni eziningi noma kuphi la ngifunda khona la ngizothola education better.
Welcome back to Daily Thetha. Namhlanje sikhuluma about the youth of 1976 nenge youth namhlanje ngo-2017 ukuthi ngekhathi leya ngo-2017 emgwaqeni, making sure ukuthi the fees are falling bebekuphi labo badala or babenyamalele or bebengayiboni into eyenzakalayo? That's a question, the conversation is now namhlanje on Daily Thetha.
Absolutely, Kini, and even from our audience members, about that lack intergenerational dialogues and conversation. That's sort of like a handover. Well, this is what we wanted to do or achieve back in 1976, and we've done this much. There's still tension between the two different generations we need to discuss. But joining us on the couch right now, we're joined by Seth Mazibuko, one of the founders of the June 16 Foundation, and Ernaliena Maisela Dikobo Olungor Ocha from the June 16 Youth Development Division. Of course, Mo Foundation in June 16, as well as Advocate Ike Kumalo. Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me as a woman to sit amongst women and engage. Because patriarchy, but thanks for your time. I opened with a quote. The late and great Chris Hani back in 1992. I just want to repeat it for you. What I fear is that the liberators emerge as elitists who drive around in Mercedes-Benz and use the resources of this country to live in palaces and gather riches. The state of the country right now, don't you fear that that quote, that statement has come to pass?
Actually, relate that quote to Solomon Mahlangu when he went down to the gallows. Solomon Mahlangu said, "The tree of liberation shall be watered by the blood of the martyrs." The point is here, who is enjoying the fruit of that tree now? Are these young people enjoying the fruit of the tree? I'll give you a big no. And again, if you can't, the point here is, are they even enjoying the shade of that tree? I'll give you a big no. Are the Guptas enjoying the fruit of the tree? Yes.
Sure.
And they are actually taking it to India and even taking the leadership into India. Are the few, we are running in a country. We did not fight. We did not allow our blood to go the way it did to Guptarize South Africa. We did not want it to be the South Africa that we are seeing
What was
today.
the point, Tate Mazibuko?
Exactly my point.
Sometimes we don't understand what the point of the movement was.
Right. When in 1976 we took out to the street, the very first message was coming from the Steve Biko thinking that the center of every system is the mind. Immediately when you don't liberate the mind, then you have a problem. If you can move people into so-called liberation, but if they're still having that oppressive mind, the mind that is still oppressed, we have a problem. That is why up to today, our education is not decolonized. You ask any young person about Hector Peterson, Hastings Ndlovu, T.S. Machine, they wouldn't know. But ask him about who they warped Dromada Reefs and Reiche at the Cape of Good Hope, 1652, he will fly. Wow. Now, the point I am making is the point that says there is nothing that has changed since from 42 years, 22 years.
Right.
There's nothing. It's just the same horse, different jockey. That's all.
Let me come to you, Ike, on this one. Would you also testify and say, Guti, the youth of 1976 have failed in Youth Guard 2017?
Yeah, before I get to that point, when Tumelo speak about people looting, driving Mercedes-Benz, it did not start now. It started back in exile. I can point you towards a big example. Where was Oliver Tambo? Oliver Tambo was in England. Here in South Africa, we are fighting British Empire. The leader of a liberation movement, the so-called liberation movement, he goes to sit in London, under the British Empire that you are fighting, riding a Rolls Royce in the most expensive street of London. And then you expect that the MK will fight a just war. It was an armed propaganda. Guys were looting back in the days, going to United Nations, going to United Nations, taking donor money, pretending as if they are fighting, send one guy there and say, "How shy am fine about one with the Then they looted and looted and looted. And then we are surprised when they are looting today. I am saying to you, back in 76, the disparities or the differences between the older youth and the youth and the parents will always be there. When the youth were fighting, the parents, there was a slogan that says, as a quail, the parents were going to work. Even today, there'll always be differences, but the youth should not expect the messiahs to come out there. They should lead the struggle because those people, who fought in 76 back then, majority of them, they are captured today. They're into the so-called... I don't know. Most of them, I heard in the... No. Most of them, they are talking funding.
Yes.
They're fighting funding and proposals and all that. That's not the struggle. I mean, they're going to the very same, like, Gupta rights guys and say, we need funding to do with this, to open this and this. I say to me, to everybody else, the youth of today, you know, they can do so many things. They should look, you know, amongst themselves. One of the solutions that they should do, you know, I move around in the townships most of the time, and there's lots of monies, like, you know, people having parties and all that. I tell most of the youth, and say, save 100 rand, 100 rand, all of you, during the election year, and take that money and register and vote for a candidate of yourself. Forget about these politicians, you know, in your neighborhood.
Even independent.
Yeah, as an independent.
We're going to come back to more solutions as well, Masabuka. Let me come back to you, Marcel. I mean, you are part of the youth division of the June 16, you know, foundation. Where do you think we miss the connection with the old generation? Because if Ike is saying the looting started way before, but the same black leaders that are leading us today, then they are supposed to know our struggles, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. So I think we need to separate and also understand that you have the youth of 1976, and we need to have pride in that struggle and the role that they played. We need to understand that part in terms of their capacity as the youth of 1976. You then have some of the participants of June 16, 1976, who are now elected public officials, who we need to hold at a higher standard with a higher level of accountability, because they should know better, because they would have felt what we are feeling now. So we should hold them to a higher standard. But the reality is that if I were to liken it to a relay race, the first person to run the 100 meters gives the baton to the next individual. Now, the next individual, it is on him to ensure that he runs a successful race, because the class of 76 has given us the baton. Now it's on us. We can't look back and say, oh, by the way, I've just stumbled or something has come into my lane. It is because of you from 1976. We have taken the baton and we need to run, and we need to hold those we've elected now to a higher standard.
Let me come to you, Thetha said, Uguti, and in 1976, tear gas, hippos and everything, but we've seen that thing happening against Guma students, Anamhlanje. The very same tactics with our government.
Let me start here, my brother. I hope I'm not going to cry. She knows I'm a crying baby. I hope I'm not. You know, having led students out of the classroom in 1976, actually children, out of the classroom in 1970, 13-year-olds, seeing the Hector Petersons and the Hestons dying just next to me, I still feel guilty about that. And when I see a government of the people still using the same tactics, it hurts more. I thought we are free from that. I thought we have come to a new dimension. But again, my brothers speak about selling out. Can I remind this house that it was the Tsietsi Mashinini, the Khotso Seahlus, and the rest of them who, when going to exile, refused to go to PAC, ANC, and all that. They were frustrated outside. That was a strategy that was discussed here, because we were fighting against the very point that is making that now. In exile, our fathers were having cigars and wines, whilst children were dying. If you were to ask the question, what made the Solo Mashangus to come back quickly before they could even complete their training within the MK, it is because they were agitated by what was happening there. Take a point. Let me make the last point.
Briefly, please.
Let me make the last point. I want to say to these young people, I'm sorry on behalf of many of my colleagues who, when we got this freedom, rushed for BEE, rushed to become parliamentarians. Sorry, because that is what exposed you. This is what exposed you to being leaderless. They moved from Ekasi, where some of us are still at. They moved and became sentence from your quotation. And I'm saying, sorry, but let me tell you, my brother, that connection is starting up. We're handing over to young people such as myself and all the young people in the youth development.
Well, and now be part of this at home. Give us a call. Find us on Facebook as well, or WhatsApp. Says to Bona Kutina about today's show. So Yabuya after this.
At the state of i-country yethu manje ama-marches wa-1976 asincedile through i-education but not through i-lifestyle yethu as intsha yamanje because manje si-based kuma-drugs si-based entweni ezirong and i-education le bebayilwela thina futhi siyayi-neglecta.
Angeke ngithi bengasi worth it because abantu abaningi bayele bashona for i-freedom yethu, so ngasho ukuthi yi-50-50 kune-education e-free ne, but though i-education i-free nangasho ukuthi into eziningi ezinkoleni ezi-free akuna ama-textbook akuna into eziningi ezikhona, it's a struggle but ekugcineni i-freedom isinayo yokufunda.
Manje siyakhona ukuthi ufunde noma kuphi la ufuna ukufunda khona, ngakhona ukuthi ngistudy any subject or i-course engifisa ukuyistudy, angikho limited ukuthi ngayenzani or ngayenzini.
Looking the current of state of South Africa, the march of 1976, it was worth it at some point. It's like it's 50-50 because ezinye izinto sizitholi, ezinye izinto siyazithola still like free education.
Masithi sithatha ukubheka manje i-development ikhona sisi, and since well i-development ikhona shuthi ama-resources sinawo ukuthi ofishi singawa-utilize thina abantu bala e-country yethu. So
welcome back to Liberty Daily Thetha. We're talking intergenerational dialogues that were supposed to happen, of course, between the youth and 1976 youth Lokhonu, of course, contributed to tension everyone and Lokhonu, and rightfully so, because we still see rising levels of unemployment, particularly youth unemployment in South Africa. You know, the fight for free, decolonized, quality education, the fight is still going on. Paying black tax, being unable to push on Kabophelo because but I want to go back to Ike Khumalo and just find out what his response is to what Ubab Mazibuko had to say. Ike?
Let me say this. Somebody mentioned drugs there. You know, are you telling me that the most powerful states in Africa, they are failing to stop drugs? Well, you don't have drug problem in Zimbabwe, in Botswana. So when the wife of a former minister of intelligence was involved in drugs, nobody knew that. But anyway, I'll tell you this. You cannot expect freedom, you know, when you're led by traitors. I mean, you have to ask yourself this question, you know, was Sikukuni fighting for civil rights to enter the same toilet with white people? Was Tingiswayo fighting for the same thing? Was Sikukuni and Mampuru, Mushweshwe fighting for those things? The ANC is not a liberation movement. You know, it has never been a liberation movement since 1912. It has 100 years of failure. You know, we've been dispossessed of the land. You know, they have never considered that, you know. So for me, I'm not surprised, you know, that the youth are still not free. We'll never be free, you know, being led by this guy. That's why I'm saying the youth must take charge, like the youth of 1976, you know. They forgot about those guys in exile. Some of the guys, they went to exile. As Praset was saying, that they were smoking cigars there. I mean, you look at the statement that was said by Ayanda Dlolo. She said that when she went to exile, they were given prevention tablets, you know, which was what was happening there.
So what does it mean?
They were in exile, my brother. If we can open a can of worms, there were massive rapes, you know, that happened there, you know. But unfortunately, nobody's prepared to talk about that. Guys were not prepared to fight. You know, they were waging an armed propaganda. Tell me a project, you know, of the MK or APLA, you know, since 1961 up to now, where we looked as if, or closer to getting liberation. None, you know.
Hopefully we'll engage in that. But thank you so much for coming to our
Let's find out on Facebook about on Twitter as well about the topic. And I'm there's something coming in for BLK Braga. There has been a change. The youth of 1976 are the gatekeepers now. They stand protecting the white monopoly. I don't know what do you guys think about that. We do have on the couch Manje Tando Sipuya as well as Naleni Chiwa. Welcome to Ikauchi Daily Thetha.
Thank you so much for having me.
Cool. And what's your view out of the comment Shandu Gibona Jagamajgaprach?
I mean, you know, what stands out is that, you know, I'm also going to make comment to the youth who are saying a lot has been done. And that's because of the black condition. You know, when you've been living under violence for so long, you start becoming accustomed to it. Like, it starts becoming common sense. It becomes normal. Where you end up celebrating mediocrity. You know, you think that, you know, being able to choose between history and geography is a success, and it's not, as if it was not being done back then. And it was, you know, and
it just shows that we are so far back off in terms of even realizing what we want as the youth of today. We don't have answers on what kind of South Africa do we want. We don't have land also. That's another big thing. We speak of decolonized education, but we have an accommodation crisis in South Africa. Where even when we go into universities, we don't have place to sleep. This is a fact. It's not even something that we just pick up from the streets. We don't have accommodation. We don't have a good curriculum. It's still very capitalist and centered around capitalism. And also another thing, we're living in a very patriarchal society. Look at the panel today. You know, I was hoping that maybe in the second round we'd have an all-female because we had, you know, just males. We center male voices everywhere. And that is why we can't even get voices of women who were in the struggle in 1976. Osbongile Mkhabela were confined for 3 years for leading the struggle, are not noted. Or Antoinette are being noted as sisters of people who died and not actual human beings who fought in the struggle. That's also something we should look at, how female voices, black women voices are being silenced and erased completely. Even to date in Fees Must Fall, female voices were not being heard, they were not being covered. Even the shots, the photography is centered around black males.
Would you say that all that a result of poor leadership is now in the country?
I think as a society, because of capitalism, you know, there has to be different power relations. And patriarchy became something that benefits most people. And that is why even black men don't want to let patriarchy go, because it makes them feel like we are human beings. Because we are so dehumanized as black people, as a black collective.
Let me come back to Natando as well. I mean, about the whole point here, June 16, 1976, and you know, I think most of us history. They didn't want to have Afrikaans as the main medium of learning in high school. We still find the youth fighting, or there's still Afrikaans universities. We still find youth fighting, or the quality of education is still poor, it's colonized, and there's no trace here African history. It's all about Jan van Riebeeck and what the Queen did or has done. What do you make of that? Do you think that the youth then has achieved its goal?
You know what? I think first and foremost, I want to say, in as much as we may say that the youth of 76 are the people who are in power today, to a great extent too, the people who are in power today are the very same people who are in exile. A majority of the people who led 1976 and the people who participated in those marches are still largely marginalized. Their stories, their voices are nowhere to be found. Those people are in the ghettos of this country today, suffering. Most of the people who were there who were marching in those streets. The people who are in power today are the very same people who Braik was saying, they sold us out. These are the people who have betrayed us, the people who were in exile, who even from 1912, as he rightfully said, had the aspirations of integrating into a white system. These were people who were not fighting to overthrow the system of white supremacy, but wanted to be incorporated, to be integrated, to live in the master's house, you see. And so when you look at today, and we talk of, I hear the young people saying that our quality of education has improved. Nothing has improved in our education system. The education system we have is still designed to make qualified slaves of black people. Whether you have a degree, an honors, a master's, a PhD, it makes no difference. As long as you are a black person, you are nothing but a qualified slave. Education today does not give us the ability to create. You know, it does not give us the ability to build industry. You know, it gives us only that ability to become a qualified slave and, you know, go and beg for a job.
Let me come to you, Braseth. What was the reason behind going to exile?
I've never been to exile.
So the reason going
Number one. Number two, instead of exile, I went to Robben Island. I was only 16 when I went to Robben Island. And even when coming out of Robben Island, first place was Orlando East Tourism House, where I landed back home. I'm still there up until today. And I'm not prepared to go anywhere. And thanks God, my home, I was just sharing it there, was just acknowledged just last week on June 16. And it is where the struggle was, and it was my struggle. I'm still there fighting electricity. I'm in a case as I speak, fighting prepaid, fighting ESCOM. I'm in a case as I stand here, fighting prepaid water. The struggles that were there a long time ago are still existing. But take a pause. I just want to say to my sister, the part of the women thing, you know, I'm sorry to say the thing, the women's struggle should not be associated with 1976. It goes back
Yes.
It's a long thing. Let's relax that point. Number two, I want to have just a little bit of saying something. How we sold out in 1994. When we went to 1994, look at the people who were leading the 1994, the Codesa 1, Codesa 2, Codesa 3. Look at those people. Yes. If they were not the majority from exile, pick me.
We need to go to an ad break. Before we come to point number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Arem Papa Chuk, I feel like I'm having a history lesson. All I've learned all along, okay, I'm questioning.
Yeah.
We'll be right back. Arem Papa Chuk.
Abantu benze action 1976 bebamasha bebangcono than abantu abasilidayo manje ngoba manje lento abantu abasilidayo manje is all about money. It's not all about ukufayisela idemocracy.
The leaders tjarna tjano tja youth for March ya go nento ba re direla yona.
Ama leaders wethu ayelele inkululeko 1976 akhona into esiyenzile right now okunye siyakubona ku right president yethu siyabona isiyenzela izinto eziningi but ezinye azaziyenzi.
The leaders tsa rona tsa today so di re thusa too much ka dilo tse ntsi because of no re kry di NSFAS re kry di beke mahala na le opportunities e ntsi so everything ba easy so because of bona so re ba leboga too much so ba thusitse.
We're having a conversation between the youth. 1976, the youth are the unfulfilled promises back in 41 years ago they're not fulfilled today and it's all about twirling their own positions of power. Before the ad break or I'm getting a rewritten history lesson and they're still living of course the same lifestyles. But I think more social media on Twitter we have a tweet here from Master Beats or at Daily Thetha. The only way to liberate yourself is first being black conscious. The youth has to move and shape their destiny.
Let's check your calls as well on 011-339-1315. Let's go to Kwelingabat in KZN. Luzi. Muzi. Hello Muzi.
Yabo.
Kunjani mfethu?
Ngisaphila futhi njani?
Asikhona nathi mfethu. Uthini umbono wakho apha uhlela namhlanje?
Cha, ngiphethe yangithinta lento. Ngoba manje ithinta la engisuka khona. Okubuhlungu uyabona iyouth ayibhekelelwe kangako. Uyabona makukhulunywa ukuthi ANC yasiliberate. Yasiliberate aphi thina esaqindezela ugovernment amabhunu ukuthi adedele abantu izwe lingasabuseki. Ngikhule mina ngazi ukuthi ngiyi-UDF. Ngikhula United Democratic Front iANC ngangakaze ngizwe ngayo. Ngikhumbula kahle ukuthi bekukhona obaba oAlan Busakhe lapho. Obhuti bethu bebizwa ngamakhomanisi. Ngithe mangikhula bengifunda u2nd year uthe uMandela ephuma bengiqala umama engitshela ethi nangu uMandela ngingakazi ngimbone. Ngathi how? Ngithe sekuye ikhetho ngathiwa iANC sesiyi-ANC manje. Kodwa labantu laba babelwa la akekho akubaboni abantu ababelida i-UDF. Abantu kuyibona abathi iANC iyasiliberate up kuyithina esaliberate bona. Kodwa bona enegcineni abakwazi ukuthi basikhombise ukuthi iyouth bayibhekelele. Buka Shandu uma uye esikolweni Shandu kubuhlungu umuntu omnyama. Yabona lento fees must fall. Umuntu ongathi akayiboni umuntu odliza amani lopondo phila kamnandi. Shandu uma umzali wakhe esebenza efemini engenamali ethola lo tax uyazi kwasayona lo tax uyakucindezela ngoba imali le ufanele uyibuyise so wani ukuqala uyaqeda esikolweni ufanele ukhokhela utax fanele ufundise usisi wakho kulandela emuva lo tax lona mhlawumbe uzothatha 3 years 4 years ukuthi ukwazi ukukhokha une-interest uyazaliselwa ngemali kodwa thina sithiwa nenkululeko sayelwela.
Okay, siyabonga
ekugcineni kwakho konke ekugcineni kwakho konke le mali mosuyikhokhile fanele uqale phansi uqale yakhe impilo uzoyiqala nini?
Thanda ukuba nzima kakhulu, siyabonga kakhulu mfethu nekholi yakho.
Thanks for commenting.
No, muzukhala ngendlela enkulu
Yeah.
ukuthi na i-black tax nakhona ikhona. When are you going to start impilo yakho? Because you have to pay back the mali oyikweletayo, you have to pay for your sister, abazali bakho, kumele urenovate nasekhaya. So that's a struggle abantu abasha babhekana nazo kakhulu namhlanje, ne?
Kini we're joined by Makatla Hosafadza Olengurliena, a youth activist, and we had the cryer, Comrade Chirwa.
Yep.
We've tried to balance the equation. I hope
So it's
the
3
accent
against 2 now.
crosses are marked. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you
Makatla.
a lot, Tumelo.
What are your frustrations? We're now with the youth of 1976. Are you frustrated? Are you concerned? Are you angry with the leaders that are today that were in the black struggle back then?
I think for me, what stands out, well, because I'm a woman and I've joined the panel, what stands out for me is the perpetual erasure of black women in the history of 1976, right? And what then becomes a problem for me is how those who were leaders then, who are leaders now, fail to continue to rewrite and reconstruct history as we know it. You know, because what they do now is, although they knew the women that were there and who were there in the struggle, the history that is there today, they do not rewrite and put those women back into history, right? And put their stories into the history. So for one, that's my point of entry. I'm angry at the youth of 1976 for that, one. Secondly, I'm looking at where I am now and I realize I'm in the media and I'm on TV, right? And one of the other things that Naledi touched on was how the media portrays the struggle, right? So the media has this perpetual idea that is Eurocentric in its nature, right? And very patriarchal in the sense that when they take photography and they document our history, they always put the male figures in front, right? So when you look at 1976, the things that come up is Tzetsi Mashinini, you know, Hector Peterson. Like Naledi said, Antoinette is never really talked about, right? No one even knows who Antoinette Sithole is. All they know is that Antoinette was a sister to Hector Peterson. No one actually thinks about how Antoinette actually on that day stood up and decided that I, Antoinette Sithole, am going to protest for Africa.
The other thing as well, esibona kakhulukazi kwi-youth of today, youth of today iyakhala kakhulu about the land issue. Somehow, don't you feel like youth endala have failed you guys in terms of land, Naledi?
The struggle was about land. It's always been about land for African people. I mean, when the June 16 youth came to say Africans must fall, they were speaking about white supremacy. They were speaking about white privilege. And that is premised on the issue of land and our minerals, which are still owned by white people. And they've not come back to us. We don't own anything as black people. And yet we are coming into this freedom, celebrating it, commemorating even the struggles of people who did not see it come to pass. In 2016 at UP, you protested against Afrikaans. How? When the June 16 movement came and said Africans must fall, and then 40 years later we are coming back to say Africans must fall. We even gave the government solutions on how to fix this whole thing of free education. We told them, take 2.5% from the pension fund and put it into education. That will give us free education. We told them, nationalize mines, they don't want. We told them, create a state-owned bank, they don't want. You tell them, give us land, they don't want. So there's no political will to alleviate the ills, social ills of black people.
Shandu, Naledi is coming up with, sort of suggested solutions as my youth are putting on the table. On the other hand, Makatla is airing out her frustrations about the lack of documenting Basadi in the history and the role they've played in history. Some are saying on social media, or complainer. All we know is complaining, having a sense of entitlement as the youth of 2017. Is that the case?
No, certainly not. I think we have to look into what exactly my sister is saying, that the primary object of dispute between Africans and the European invaders, whether we want to call them colonialists or whatever, was the land. And all the other ills, social ills that we face as black people are directly connected to the fact that we are a landless, a dispossessed people. And by the very fact that we are still landless and dispossessed, we are dehumanized. Our dehumanization continues. All the ills, whether it's in education, it's in health, whatever you name it, whether it's housing, it is directly connected to the land. And it's the very same land that the elite, the oligarchs who sold us out, do not want to take from, the white people, basically. And in as much as we can even talk about today the Guptas and all of that, we have to go back to even Tate Nelson Mandela and talk about Harry Oppenheimer, their meetings, their secret meetings, talk about the Ruperts, their meetings, their funding of the ANC in 1994. You have to expose the whole thing. Let's open the whole can of worms, you see. So, yeah.
So our youth today are not really certainly complaining out of a context. There is a context, and that context is that we've been sold out. Bukelo muhle ekhaya uyazwela uhlela namhlanje uthanda ukushuba kakhulu. Siyabuya after this. Wanna find out exactly ukuthi mapha ama privilege okuba youth namhlanje if ekhona. Siyabuya. Welcome back to Daily Thetha. Sikhuluma about the issues affecting youth. Siqala kuqaleni lapha ku-1976 sizofika ku-2017 efusekhona ushintsho noma alukho yini. Going forward ama-solutions athini as well. Let's go to Harry Smith. Neo.
Sanibonani njani?
Sikhona mfowethu wena?
Khona
Neo.
Neo. Khona kodwa ngithashele kabuhlungu emoyeni ngale issue esikhuluma ngazo namhlanje.
Uphathwa yini kabuhlungu mfowethu?
Especially mangibona boset lapha. Mina my worry ukuthi ibelieve yami sekuthanini in order ukuthi sazi la siya khona we must know la siphuma khona.
Oh yes.
Ngicabanga ukuthi kumele ngabe i-history ithathe as one of ama subject kumele ngabe prioritize like abo science and what so that young people bazazi la siphuma khona. If khona manje ukuthi kuvale the role edlalwa abo set basaphila what more sabangekho. Isine generation ebala abonto abo theatre machinini abo Robert Sobukwe engafuni ukufakelelwa despite the role abayidlalile and so yabona namhlanje ukuthi kwenziwe lento le just to promote a particular abantu. I don't want to say ubani but kwenzeka lento le to promote abantu abathize. If you check the generation ka 76 they fought for into ebalekile but educational system yethu I respond to the challenge le okuthi into iloko i76 day ilwela instead uzothola government yethu hijack into engazazi akusidala they were talking about ukuthi manje bafuna adopt as Chinese as one of the languages in South Africa uzibuza ukuthi what about into ezibalekile South Africa and if Freedom Charter ikhulume very clear ukuthi kuzoba khona imfundo yamahhala. I fully support ukuthi the current students ezikhona kuma universities zethu they need to be supported at all costs. By the way, being a member of the ANC, I feel ukuthi it's unfair ukuthi so mobilize ukuthi si discredit lento ngathi into party ethize. No, that is where South Africa okumele ibe khona.
Thank you so much.
It is meant for abantu base South Africa.
Siyabonga kakhulu ngekholi yakho.
Thank you so much. Due to time, unfortunately, we had to, of course, move. I think on social media, or we can talk all we want, but there's no action taken. Or if there's no action taken, then there won't be any change. What action can we take to move forward? But before we go to our guests, I'm going to ring on WhatsApp. You send us your voice notes.
Hello, this is Nondumiso Rekozo from Brakpan, Langaville. Accept Bambisana. Agazi kubebi kubambisana phakathi kweyouth yamanje neyouth yakudala. Iyouth yakudala ayivumelani ngendlela iyouth yamanje eyenza ngazo izinto. Mesibuka for umzekelo ifees must fall. Lesa strike lesi abanye babekhumula khona istratini bebemuntu. Cabanga ukuthi iyouth yakudala ayisabonga benza izinto kahle. Bona dala mekuthiwa bekune strike besenziwa ngalendlela leyo ukuthi uchintsho vele beluba khona kodwa manje ushintsho asabonakali ngokuthi youth yamanje yenza izinto ngenye indlela.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
And in closing, Thetha, I think you want to wish something, just a brief one before Sasbalega. What can we do moving forward?
It is said that on June 16, in one prison correctional service, women went half nude to go and entertain prisoners, who some of them might have even raped them. Hello? We are burying our women every day. We have cried out and said, let June 16, what does that say to our youth sitting here about Youth Month? This thing started when in Orlando Stadium you have festivals instead of having a commemoration service. And then you take it that way. First step first. My brother, you suggested this inter-dialogues, but that must result into an action. I think we must start there. 2, we must start respecting the Youth Month, so-called, and respecting our women. 2, 3, we must start respecting June 16 itself. Last one. My sisters, Smongile Mtembu wrote a very interesting book, and I'm going to ask you to read it. The Black Roses. Please read that book. She's one woman who wrote about the struggle of 1976. No one has, by the way, Antoinette sits in the board of June 16 Foundation. So these are issues that we have taken into cognizance. June 16 is not a boys' club. But please, I'm saying to all young people that are sitting in, the tree of liberation shall be watered by the blood of the martyrs. Go out there and demand the fruit of that tree.
Thank you so much.
Go out there and enjoy the shade of that tree.
Thank you so much. Antawena and Marcella, briefly, please, your parting shots.
My parting shot is that everything rests and falls on leadership, but we have to hold leadership to account. It starts with in our ward councils, the Lokshini, we must hold our ward councillors to account. If you are not happy about certain things, we go there and we demand it from the ward councillor all the way to the president. That's how we take action. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Let me say this. Whenever we demand what is ours, we are told that we've got the entitlement mentality. This is our country too. We are entitled for that.
Yes.
As much as you can go from British Empire, Roman Empire, every empire was built on the blood of African people and slavery and dispossession. People were killed, and it was based on land. So what's wrong with us, taking our land back? What's wrong with us?
Thank you so much, Ash. Thank you. And young people, the custodians of our generation. I mean, the youth of 2045 will be saying, "Mar 2070 How do you think we can get to 2045 and not have this conversation with the youth then, moving forward?
I mean, it should not stop. The actions, the demonstrations should continue. And the most simple, if the party does not serve you, take it out, because they're not serving your interests. And the most important one, black women are the majority in this country, which means we are the labor force, which means we are the trenches that hold this country together. If it does not work for us, we should collapse it and start over again, because we can do it.
Shandu, closing?
As I said when I started, out of relative obscurity, this generation has discovered its mission, and I think we have chosen to fulfill, our mission. And so revolution is the only solution. And as Malcolm X once said, revolution is blood, it uproots and overturns everything that gets in its path. And there is no other way that whatever ballot boxes, whatever processes, diplomatic processes that have been tried and tested, they will continue to fail black people. We need to uproot and overturn everything, and reimagine a new society, a new fabric of a society.
Quick one. I think I would like to say, like Frans Fanon once said, that decolonization is always a violent process. And I want to take this into the context of protest and how we come into contact with protest. Because one of the viewers, I think, said that when women stripped naked, the elders of then could not understand how that comes into. So I wanted to say that because as the youth of today, we are clear on our decolonization project, or even decolonizing as far as how we protest. Because we have seen how protest has played out in the years. And if it means, if we just march in the street, no one hears, then surely we can do more.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye.